Hello. So there's a reason why we decided to talk about this here in Sweden. Because me and Mathias has been in this like bug bounty industry for probably 5 years now. And there's not that many Swedish people doing bug bounties yet. And we've been trying to ask people and reach out to people and talk with people, going to events in Sweden and also in like Norway and Finland, trying to figure out why that is. And we heard a lot of arguments on why you shouldn't do bug bounties. And we kind of think in a different way, and we wanted to like at least show the arguments that a lot of people had, and then try to explain our angle to it. So a disclaimer before I start is that like this is my view of it. Mathias' view is next, and I just wanna like, this is not the truth, right? This is not how you should think about it. It's like up to interpretation. So my name is Frans. I started as a developer, and I started in 2012 actually starting to think about security. And when I thought about this and like how should I show people that I had no clue about security. So I found some code from when I was 18 years old in 2004, and I wrote what you should do before you die list in PHP. It's actually open source and released in 2004. And the interesting thing here, you might notice that I'm actually replacing double quote with an HTML entity. So in some sense, I kind of figured that like some stuff needs to be escaped. But then if you look further, you can also see that I had no idea about SQL injection, because I just take the ID from the URL and just put it into a SQL query. So this kind of proves my point that like I didn't start with like a security mindset at all. I just like realized in the end what you could actually do when this happens. So bug bounties. You probably heard a lot about it. I was at SecT, and probably a few of you were also like 2 or 3 weeks ago. And what was interesting there was that a bunch of talks that I saw that I had nothing to do with bug bounties actually mentioned it. And I was at another event in Buenos Aires last week, Echo Party, and they were talking in Spanish, of course, but then you could also hear the word bug bounty like in the discussion. So it's like sneaking in a lot of discussions, and it most often like correlates together with research and a way to actually find new vulnerabilities. I have like one of my assumptions about bug bounties is that that's like one of the new ways to do R&D. And if you see like in media, you can see a bunch of these news articles. It's not only like happening in the industry, it's also something that you can publicly talk about. And like, it sounds cool. There's something happening, like what is this? There's money involved. Some company thinks about security, they're releasing something, some form of bounty, what is this? And the bad side of this is that there are other people picking this up as well. Like I saw this one a couple of weeks ago. This is actually an ad for Udemy courses. And master in bug bounty and earn millions. And she actually, like, you should watch this presentation. I can tweet it. Like, I should not do like commercial of this thing. I don't want to like push it forward, so that's why I'm trying to keep it like, don't blast it out on the internet. But she actually like, you want to get a millionaire into bug bounties, and like, she's really trying to pitch this thing. Other things you can see is that there's a bunch of ads popping up. This happened like just a few weeks ago. So there are ads about like having your phone unlocked, or like getting your crypto coins back due to some hack or whatever. And they're mentioning a bunch of people in the like bug bounty industry, or like the people doing like HackerOne, for example, as people that will help you fix your phone. And this explains a lot of things, because like my LinkedIn was like, people were sending mail like, I've prepaid already, like your services. And I'm like, what services? So I kind of understand now what happened. Also, one other example of this was like, here is like the awesome hackers. They've rated hackers depending on what they're doing. And they say overall 4-star hacker, France. I'm like, who's that number 5 guy? The cool thing is this Frank Costello. I don't know if you know who that is, but it's like an old like criminal background guy. It's like he looks really cool, by the way. So there's like both good and bad sides of this, and everybody wants to take like a part of it or make money out of it. Even though they're not finding bugs, they're trying to make money out of other people wanting to make money. So what is it? And what it is, the good parts. I will start with the good parts. I will actually like go back and forth between good and bad here. So in the end, you will probably feel like, did he actually like promote this thing, or did he like prevent us from doing it? But I want you to be like, I want to be transparent about this. I want to show you why, or like I want to show you all the caveats, all the good things as well. So the good things are like you can do stuff whenever you want, wherever you want. You can be on a beach with a good internet and you can make money. And there's no requirements of time spent. Like there's some exceptions, of course. There's some like Google has a researcher's grant, which they give out to people that has proven to like find stuff. And they say basically, spend the time you think you're worth, and you will get like between $500 or up to $3,000. And you come back to them and say, I spent this much time and I found this and that. Other examples are Cobalt, for example, which is like a platform more skewed towards looking like real pen tests. So basically they say, spend a week and you get this amount of money, and then you spend the week and you know what to get. Other, like the comparison is basically in Bug Bounty, you can spend how much time you want and earn nothing, or you can spend little time because you know what to find and you can spend less time and make a lot of money. So this is just like a other way to know what you're gonna get, so you don't have any like uncertainty going on. Another thing is like it's a great way to train your skills for real. Like it's a CTF. But the only difference is that you stop on like step 1. Like you don't escalate or pivot or go further. Like you stop and you make sure that you can prove what you did, and then that's it. But it's similar to like a CTF in the terms like, the only difference is that like there could potentially not be a vulnerability there. But some people get triggered by that. Other people get triggered by knowing that there is one vulnerability there. But I can basically promise there's always vulnerabilities somewhere, right? So the other thing, what it is actually a way to boost your career, for real. Like I have a lot of friends, like these ones, that only because of Bug Bounty. Like some of these guys are like 17 or 18 years old when they just moved to San Francisco to start at LinkedIn, or Oath, or Facebook, or Uber, or Detectify. Like Linus, for example, like he found bugs on Google when he was 15 years old. And he lived outside of Stockholm, and we were like, who is this guy? Why, like, he's 15 years old and super talented. So we started having contact with him, and it turned out to be a guy that also like helped out IDG to make blog articles a little bit around security. And we were like, you're awesome. We want to work with you. And he was like, I'm in school. And we're like, we will wait. So he graduated this year. And on his graduation, we stood outside that graduation and like, welcome, like now you can. So he got to finalize his education, and then he just got rolled into the security industry directly. So really good way to like boost your career. What it's not, like there's a bunch of things it's not. Like one of the things is like, it's not a return on investment on day one. Of course not. There's a bunch of things you need to understand before you start this. This is like, there be dragons is like a really good wording for that, because there's like hurdles and ways to actually not make money or actually lose money if you're not careful. So one of the other thing is like, it's not a guarantee at all getting money at all. Like getting a dupe, you get nothing. Dupe meaning like someone else reported a bug before you. That's also what Emily was talking about. Like if you have a and the recommendation she has is basically like, don't open up everything, because if you don't have a process of fixing stuff, people like me coming to that program reporting things that is already reported will just be like, what can I touch? Like this is mined area, like a minefield, because if I find something that is already found but not fixed, it's worthless for me. So that's one thing that is like, you can't guarantee getting anything from this. And also it depends on each program. and a type of vulnerability. Like there could be vulnerability for one company that they really care about. Like one example is like Dropbox really don't want open redirects because they connect to so many services that expect them to not have that. So if Dropbox would have an open redirect, you could actually abuse a bunch of other services leading to like internal system access. So they really want to like eliminate this. Comparing that to Google, which like open redirect, we don't care. So looking at that like difference, you need to understand how the program works. And one of the best ways to actually understand that is to look at old stories, old blog posts about this company, what they're afraid of. Sometimes these companies actually go out in their policy explaining like this is the things that we really don't want you to find, or like we want you to find them, but we really don't want to have them in our software. Another example is like you can look at these charts that both like BugCrowd and HackerOne does, which is basically like to align your expectations with like what you will gonna get. Like so, basically in this case, you know that Tesla will pay maximum $10,000. And looking at BugCrowd's VRT, which is like a vulnerability rating taxonomy, you know that if you're getting one of the P1s, meaning the highest severity, you will get 10K. That's how it works. Same thing with, this is an example from one program, and this is like HackerOne's chart. So you know here that like if you're getting a critical, if you're getting a SQL injection, in this case you will get $15,000. Like there's no, and of course, some cases there are like discussions, but on this case it's like on hackerone.com, if you find that, there's no discussion. Other companies have like, we don't care what type of asset it is, or if it's like on a subdomain or whatever. If we have a SQL injection, we will pay you, like because we don't think you should know how bad this is. It's up to us to actually assess the impact, and to make it easier for you, we will just like plain on say this is a critical. So that sounds awesome, right? Just go digging. No, but there are some hurdles, of course. One of them is like there's a competition with other people. Absolutely competition. And going for the new things, there's going to be a dupe fest. Because you're going to look for the low-hanging fruit, and you're watching a new program. Everybody goes to the new program. Which means that you're going to spend time and get nothing back. And that's really not like a good thing. Another thing is uncertainty. As soon as a new program opens up, for example, you don't know anything. They've written in the policy that we're going to pay for this or that, but you don't know how they will assess the impact in those cases. There could be like WW2, and you find something really bad, and they say, yeah, but WW2 is just a test system, and it's totally isolated from our infrastructure. We have no idea like the impact of this is nothing. There's no customers there. So uncertainty is like one of those things that is really dangerous, like working with new customers and shit. And shit. No, but like it's a dangerous part to actually spend time on it. So you don't know the response, you don't know the payouts, you don't know the skill level of the other part as well. Other thing is like tiny differences in policies. There could be companies having a little bit different policies. Like policies can be like super like huge. And there's something in them that is just a bit different from anything else. I've seen all these cases, like we don't want XSS, or we don't care about our domain at all. We just care about our app. And my favorite was like known bugs in this is remote code execution. And you're like, okay, like, do you want me to report something lamer, or like, do you want me to find something worse than remote code execution? Because I don't know if there's a 11 pointer in the CV. So the first one, like, what can you do about it? Okay, so find old programs with large attack surface. There's a bunch of them. Google is one of them. Facebook is one of them. Yahoo is one of them. And all of these companies, there's people like dedicating themselves only to work on these old programs, because they know that all these new people getting into this, they want to go for the new bugs or the new programs that nobody has watched. So, but they don't think about like all the code that is getting written every day The ones being large companies, they put up so much new code all the time. So you think a company has like, yeah, but they've put up the code that I watched right now, but the day after everything could just be changed or different. So some people have put that into their technique, like I will only look at the old programs because nobody else is looking there. When it comes to uncertainty, I have a technique myself when I go to a new program and I find it interesting. I tend to like submit 3 or 4 bugs, maybe spending like a few hours instead of days, just to see how they respond. And sometimes I actually use a technique where I'm submitting not that bad bugs, like I submit like XSS to them to see how they react of that. And then if they're like being responsive or like they appreciate what you're doing, you can then keep digging. Maybe looking at like authorization issues or looking at their infrastructure or server setup or stuff like that. So this is like you're testing the waters, you can say. Another thing is when the tiny differences in the policy or if they have a known bug being an RCE, like I would just stay away. Like they have bigger problems to solve than the stuff I will give them. It's for me it's a warning sign, like okay, I'm like I will just be away from that. Another reason, like I'm trying to keep up my return on investment, so I don't spend too much time versus getting something back from it. So when I see these things, which I know I'm pretty good at, like when it comes to like cross-site scripting or similar, and I know they're not going to pay for it, often I use XSS to find those issues to actually pay the time I spent to understand how the app works. Instead of me gambling with time, just like doing everything for free to understand the app, I can actually make money on the way trying to understand how everything works. Other hurdles is like the first point of entry. Like the first point of entry going into bug bounties in general is really tough. It's really hard. Every time. It doesn't matter if you like stop and start a couple of months later. Every time you need to put in maybe 1 or 2 days, which doesn't give anything in return. I've done this in like 4 years. This is a chart of my activity in bug bounties. And you can see these lines. You can see that like every time there's one of these like hurdles to get back up again to the activity. I also, if you look at it, I'm like my activity goes down almost every 3 months. And why is that? Well, I get bored. I think it's like super boring. And looking at stuff that is broken, I'm like, holy shit, this is not great. So find a methodology that works for you to like not get bored or like eliminate those things. I'm worried. I'm like, this took longer than I thought. Okay, so my methodology of this way to actually not like get bored is like, there's no way to the proper way. This is my way, right? I saw a discussion on Twitter, there's a guy called Brute Logic, and he said, this is the way you're gonna learn or master something. Spend time on only that and do it all the time. And then another guy comes in and says, well, move all over the place. Move different things, change, just challenge yourself all the time. So there's nothing right or wrong in this, like both are right, as I see it. But I kind of like the context switching, like trying different things or like playing out with things instead of just like keep hammering the same thing. And also like when I get bored, I stop immediately. Like I really don't want to like continue doing something over and over again. So some advice is there, like look at new frameworks, for example. Getting traction right now. What's the popular thing getting traction right now? Hacker News has helped me a lot into looking into new things. Same with like reading code. There's a bunch of open source tools that has bug bounties. You can read their source code and get like an idea how they work. Just move to that. Like after you've been looking for bugs somewhere, black boxing, you can go back and like do white boxing, meaning you can read the code. Or like if you like crypto, there's so much crypto programs all over the place. And I was like, oh, everything is built in C or in COBOL, but everything is built in like Node. Or PHP, like seriously, like there's crypto in PHP. And any skill you want to improve, like do you want to learn regular expressions more or better? Like sure, like you can use that to actually like get better into security. Like try to find a way to like see how regular expressions are weak. But my methodology changes all the time. Like last week, I was like, CTFs, that's pretty smart. And everybody's been talking about CTF for a long time. But I'm like, it kind of makes sense now for me. It took 6 years to understand that that's a pretty good intro to thinking outside the box. And some bugs are even like a CTF. Like there's a bug like this week when we were live hacking, where like they found an FTP, but the FTP exposed the binary so you can SCP to the instance. So they changed the SCP binary into something else and was able to get a shell from that. And then it was a load balancer. All kernels were updated except one, so they used dirty cow on it and got root. So it's like there's some things that is like this is made by someone that thought it was like we're gonna do a CTF about it. No, it was an enterprise product, like covering the whole internet. Good thing to add to this is like make notes. There are time optimizers when you're coming back to stuff. So when I'm talking about these hurdles about the problems of like getting into it, and it takes a bunch of days. If you're doing this documentation, you will actually go quicker the next time. I'm so going over time. I'm really sorry, Mathias. I'll hurry. The backside of this all is like the mental health, right? It sucks. Like you can work how much you want. You can work with it indefinitely. Nobody will say stop because you don't have a boss. There's a guy called Nathan that actually wrote this article, Bug Bounties and Mental Health, which is awesome. I totally recommend to read it. And he's talking about like self-care is key. Like you need to sleep, you need to eat, you need to take care of yourself. It's so easy to get sucked in this like gig economy. It's probably similar to like Uber drivers and mental health. Like it's similar in terms of like you can do it how much you want. There's nobody stopping you from doing it. Another technique that I think like we can do is like try to move everything forward. Like don't pile bugs. There's a bunch of hackers like doing their favorite bug and don't really want to have it fixed because they can just continue submit it. And I think we should just try to eliminate them. And that's also advice to companies, like not just fix it for you, try to communicate with the vendor, trying to eliminate these bugs once and for all. Also like share knowledge in any way you can, both being companies or bug bounty hunters. I think that's the way, like we're doing today. Last thing, story of Stök. This is Fredrik Alexandersson, a guy in Gothenburg. I will talk a super quick story about him. He works at Office IT Partner, which is like a network architecture company working from Gothenburg. He's also like a movie producer. When I met him first time in Sweden, I'm like, oh, you're doing pretty cool movies on YouTube. I got an invite to Nolcon in India. And when I saw this, I was like, would be cool to have Fredrik on board, getting down there and like making a movie about this. I asked HackerOne and they were like, sure, get him over. I took him with me, we made some videos. During this event, we started talking about bug bounties. He was a network architecture, hadn't worked anything, he didn't know what burp was. We started talking about it and I like gave him pointers. A bunch of people we were there with actually showed him examples and stuff. And one guy gave him a burp license. So he came home after that. This was in February this year. He decided, I'm gonna spend every Thursday with bug bounties. And he did that. He was invited to Las Vegas. He actually bought himself a ticket, but once he was there, he was able to go to one of these live events. And he made $20,000 on that. Just because he was so focused on like trying to understand this space. And he found like a cross XML entity in like Salesforce, which is like extremely hard. He comes down and makes 30,000 because of 2 remote code executions that he finds just after the event, unrelated to the event. He was also on the event now in Buenos Aires, and he came home with the best bug of the event, making $16,000. So just by dedication, during 1 year, he just focused 1 day every week to the bug bounties, and that's what's like his success story was. And I took it and told it myself. Thank you very much.
Does anyone have any questions for Frans?
What is this?
Yeah, it's on mic.
Hello? Okay. Can you throw it?
Yeah.
Is that the point? Okay. Anyone wants to?
So you can throw the...
This is amazing. I mean, someone has to answer, like, ask a question now. I really want to throw it. Yeah. Woohoo!
how many, the total opposite of a stock do you get for every stock of bug bounties? How many people that is not successful and fail at it?
That's a really good question. I think there's... I think there's maybe, like, it's hard because it's like, I think it's a geographical difference between people also. Like, we come from, like, people in the Nordics tend to have like a really good education from the start. That's also one of the reasons people don't do bug bounties, but they're like, we're working with security at the day anyway, so why spend time on security when I come home? So I think it's a kind of mentality thing that maybe makes it easier for him to do it than other people. Like, looking at the majority of people doing bug bounties, they come from India, and they have total different probably incentives or reasons doing bug bounties, and also comes from a different, like, they have totally different stories than we have. And I think we need both, because there are bugs that they will find that we would never, and the reverse as well. So I think it's not a game of trying to be the only one in here. It's a game of trying to enhance everything by different skills. If that's a good explanation. Someone want to throw dice with me? No, okay. Let Mathias do, because I was so late. Sorry. Thank you.